Hello, James Sharman here with you. Quite the day in the football world. Retirements, signings, and loan deals. It's room 442. All right, let's start with the retirements, shall we? One in particular, Gareth Bale, 33 years young, just coming off, of course, that famous win in MLS. Does he love football? Does he hate football? Is it a frustration? Does he prefer golf? Yes, he prefers golf, apparently. Gareth Bale announced today he is retiring from all of football. In a statement, he said, after careful and thoughtful consideration, I announced my immediate retirement from club and international football. I feel incredibly fortunate to have realised my dream of playing the sport I love. To my previous clubs, Southampton, Tottenham, Real Madrid, and finally LAFC, all of my previous managers and coaches, backroom staff, teammates, the impact you've had is immeasurable. I move on with anticipation to the next stage of my life, a time of change and transition, an opportunity for a new adventure. Quite the career. I know he's got some naysayers out there, but 5 Champions League crowns is quite amazing. 3 La Ligas, a League Cup for Spurs. Albert should get that one in there, shall we? But listen, we know he's a polarizing figure. We understand that. But he was an exceptional talent. One of the great players to come out of English football, for sure. How good was he, though?
I would say at his peak for Spurs, Real Madrid, and Wales, one of the best footballers in the world. How can you say no?
Mm-hmm.
You know, 5 Champions Leagues. He's been in PFA Team of the Year. He's won La Ligas. And not only that, he comes up big in big games. And he did it in his last club game as a player for LAFC. Barely really played for them. Comes on, scores a late goal, which leads to extra time, penalty shootout, and LAFC win MLS Cup. I think for me, a lot of conversation going on right now on social media is he the greatest ever British player? I'm not sure. I didn't get to watch every player. But just being in that conversation shows you what kind of career he had.
It's a great debate, that, isn't it? The best British player. I know people will dismiss that and will laugh at it, but for me, it's open for debate. 5 Champions League crowns. He made the move. So few British players make the move overseas and succeed. He did that and succeeded.
Yeah. For me, like, you always hear people talk about names like George Best and Sir Bobby Charlton's another one. I can't compare him to those guys. I've never seen those guys play at peak week in, week out. But what Gareth Bale's been able to do, break the transfer record, right? When he moved from Tottenham to Real Madrid. And also his transition overall from being a fullback to now one of the more dynamic goal scorers, honestly, in our generation. It speaks volumes just how talented of a player he is. Now, in our lifetime, I'm thinking of guys like Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes. You know, we can throw Stevie G, Wayne Rooney, all those guys sort of into that mix in terms of best British footballers. But Gareth Bale, you have to think, is right up there making a strong case to potentially be the best one of our generation, at least.
Man, James, he took Wales to the semifinals of the Euro. And look at that team.
Threw him on his back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he qualified for a World Cup.
Yeah.
Right?
All through him.
Yeah, through him. I mean, his clutch goals. I mean, very few players have been that clutch in big games. An amazing player. Any memories that stand out to you, like of him when he played?
Oh, tons. Well, you got the Champions League bicycle kick.
2018.
2018. Yeah, you got 2 goals in that game, right?
You have what he did to Mike Owen at the San Siro.
2010.
Scored a hat-trick against Inter.
Yeah.
That's really when he burst onto the scene. That was when it happened. He scored 2 goals in that Champions League final. The goal in the Copa del Rey final, where he ran outside past Mark Batra all the way in, and he scored the goal, which ended up being the game winner. He's just a clutch player, man.
2014 Lisbon, another very important moment for him. MLS Cup final, of course.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, didn't play that much down the stretch, but when he did play, he scored the biggest goal arguably in their history.
Yeah, for sure. And latest goal ever in MLS history as well to secure a championship. You know, players, when they start to retire, you always wonder if they play too long or if maybe if they cut a little bit short. For me, it feels kind of like it's the perfect time for Gareth Bale to hang up the boots, right? He did everything he could in his club career, took Wales to the World Cup. Obviously, it didn't go as planned, but you're not going to go through another full cycle. I think this was the right time for him to call it for his career.
Wales didn't really have that great of a team. Yeah, 33.
Little young, right?
I know, very young, yeah. And listen, the British media, the Spanish media, very harsh on him. You know? where was his heart? Was it with the club? It doesn't matter. He was a great player, and I think he's been treated really poorly by the media in general. But a wonderful player, and maybe one day on this show we'll break down who is the best British footballer of all time, because he's in the conversation, and there's some pretty good players there. Another great player who announced his international retirement today was France's Hugo Lloris of Spurs. 145 caps for his country. He won a World Cup, of course. Fell short this time around, Albert. You watched him very closely as a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
Is he a great goalkeeper?
I think you have to put him in that category.
I think so
yeah.
too.
He's not
Sure.
he's not a household name, but it's unfortunate for Spurs that he hasn't won anything with them. But I will say this: watching them week in and week out since he's been there, there's been more than a handful of seasons where he's been one of Spurs' best players. That kind of goes unnoticed because he's a goalkeeper, right? But look, the guy won a World Cup. He's been there with France. Most appearance by a goalkeeper at a World Cup is Hugo Lloris. I mean, that's in the category of great goalkeepers, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
most
absolutely.
capped French player as well
There you go.
of all time.
Yeah.
So he's been there, done that. For me, I mean, I'm not a Tottenham supporter, but watching him from the outside, for me, he's been perennially one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah, great shot
Year
stopper.
in, year out. Great shot stopper.
Not a big guy
No.
by goalkeeping standards.
Yeah, no, he's extremely quality, and to see his career wrap up in sort of this fashion, again, kind of like Gareth Bale, his international career at least, right time for me. And
And now he can sit back and focus on his club, on football, whether it's Spurs or somewhere else. And I
Yeah.
know Spurs are eyeing, to get younger in that position at some point. But, we see a lot of players doing this, and they still got a few good years left in them.
Especially a keeper, right? Keepers can last. Look at Buffon, right? Who knows? Maybe Lloris
Late
gets that
30s,
move
you're fine.
to PSG at some point,
Yeah.
right? And he can win something. He needs to win something at a club level.
There's a few players at Spurs you can say that about.
Yeah, I know. The whole team, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Harry Kane being one, I suppose. All right, listen, when we come back, guess who's back in town? Our very own Sarah Perarian,
Oh.
back in town. She's been away in Chile and South America the last few weeks. We'll hear from Sarah and break down all things European football and South American football. It's Room 442. Welcome back to Room 442, and just a crazy, crazy news day. We'll get to Joao Felix later in the show, but right now it's 3 headlines from the weekend. Of course, there'll be a whole whack of headlines from today as well, but I'll start off with this one, okay? From the Daily Mirror, one of my favorite sources for all great headlines. It says, "Look who's back, Martinez named new Portugal manager." Yes, for some time now I've been thinking, who's going to replace Santos at Portugal? A lot of rumours it'd be Jose Mourinho, right? Not happening. It's Roberto Martinez, fresh after a failed World Cup with Belgium. Your initial thoughts on this one? Is it a good hire, a risky hire?
I don't think it's a good hire at all. I think Portugal were really struggling with Santos just in the sense of their starting 11. They couldn't get it together in the World Cup. Who's going to start, where players are playing, obviously the whole Ronaldo situation. Roberto Martinez coming out of Belgium, who had an awful World Cup, who were that dark horse for, the last 10 years, but never actually won anything. Not to mention a Spanish coach coaching Portugal. I don't think this is going to be a good fit.
I don't mind it as much as people do. I've seen some backlash come out, but Roberto Martinez was fantastic at Wigan. He was fantastic at Everton. We have to remember, this is also the coach that propelled Belgium to the #1 FIFA World Ranking. Now, I don't know what that means per se, but he still had some success with the Belgian national team, and he has experience coaching and managing big players. Now, the one thing I'm concerned with is one of his first comments as Portuguese manager was about Cristiano Ronaldo and how the Portuguese national team essentially has to give Ronaldo more respect, which in my opinion, it's the last thing that this Portuguese national team needs. So I don't know how that part of the story is going to work out, but I do actually like him as a manager. I think he instills his side to play some really good football, some tiki-taka style football almost. And we'll see how it works out with Portugal, because they need a fresh face in the mix.
And they did make semi-finals. Belgium didn't win. I understand that. Given their talent, maybe they should have done, but they're a very small nation. They made semi-finals. And he says the most important thing is right now to sit down with Cristiano Ronaldo, have a chat with him. What that means, I don't know. Maybe the chat is saying, I don't want you part of my team. And I think given what we saw at the World Cup, and given where he's playing now, a poor league, that has to be the conversation. Okay, thanks for the memories. We'll give you a testimonial, but because he needs the money, right? But it's time to move aside. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't mind it either personally. I think he's a decent manager who likes attacking football. But we'll wait and see. Kind of a shame it's not Mourinho, just for the
drama.
headlines.
Yeah,
It'd
please.
be brilliant.
It's gonna happen one day, though.
For
Before
sure.
he retires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, what's your headline?
Mine is all about Atletico Madrid and Barcelona played yesterday, and the 92nd minute had Ferran Torres and Stefano Savic wrestling each other. You didn't think it was red card. They both got red carded off, sent
Boys
off.
will be boys, Sarah.
Yeah,
Come on.
but it was strange for football, I thought. It was just like a bit, I don't know, like silly in my opinion, because they were, pulling the
It was
hair
silly,
kind
but
of in a
red card, I can
headlock.
see a couple of yellows being thrown out there, maybe.
The thing is, Barcelona and Atletico, like that game was building up for so long. I mean, like the way the players play, Atletico is always very aggressive with Barcelona. So it could have been just the amount of warnings in the end and they were sent off. But the takeaway from this game I have, wrestling aside, is Atletico Madrid are really in poor form. And we've talked about Simeone needing to go, but is it finally time?
Oh, it's time. Right? I mean, at what point do you have to look at the team you have, the squad you have, the money you've spent, and say, okay, he's been a wonderful servant for this club. They play a certain way. They've got an identity. They've made semi-finals of big tournaments, but it's time to move on in a new direction.
I mean, it's also to the point where did they overachieve with Simeone, and now expectations are raised to a point where it's almost impractical for them to actually get to that point. I'm more on that side. I think Simeone makes the team overall better. Do they need a new voice in the room? It's tough to argue against it right now, but at the same time, I don't want to disrespect Simeone in any way because he's an unbelievable manager, and I think he does get the best out of his players.
But the football's awful.
Yeah.
football is
sure. You don't have to be a
watch.
fan of
It's
that stuff, but the
successful.
results are there.
But they're not this season.
That's
They're
the
not
thing.
that. And the thing is, when I was watching the game yesterday, Barcelona did not play well either. Their one goal was really great. Teamwork, Pedri, Gavi, then Dembele. Fantastic. But after that, they were slow, like we've seen Barcelona this season. But Atletico, middle of the park, were exhausted. They were holding back so much that by the time they crossed over into Barcelona's half, they ended up losing the ball. And it was just this over and over again. So I agree with James. I just think like he's done so much for Atletico, but is it time that they need a new voice for that motivation?
At least you know that Ferran Torres is a footballer. And he's still playing football because I forgot all about him. He hasn't played great, has he?
No, I know.
Since a big move over there.
Okay, wait, but let me leave you guys with this stat because it actually blew my mind. Barcelona have the best defensive record in the top 5 leagues in Europe right now, with Ter Stegen only letting in 6 goals in all competitions. In what world? Sorry, in La Liga.
Yeah, wow. That's something, actually. That's a good stat.
But
Barcelona of all teams.
But like we've been watching them and it's not been good. They're already out of the UCL.
All right, Mikey, your turn. What's your headline?
I couldn't believe it, to be honest, when I saw this headline, but it's Zinedine Zidane rejects USMNT job offer. That, to me, was absolutely shocking to see.
That they'd approach him?
That they would approach him. And it actually speaks to the U.S.'s ambition here in terms of the type of coaches and managers that they want to go after now that there is, of course, a vacancy and there's everything that's going on there with Greg Berhalter. Look, the U.S. are going to be hosting a World Cup on home soil. Clearly, they want to take a step forward. And to see them go after the likes of arguably the most coveted manager right now out there in world football, it speaks volumes to where their head is at in terms of the direction they want to head with this program. So it's exciting if you're just a North American football fan. As a Canadian, it's exciting. But obviously Zidane decided to go the other way, which isn't a surprise, again, with everything going on.
I mean, they need some good PR right now with the whole Berhalter situation, that Gong show. I mean, it's an embarrassment for the program. Just what's happened with the whole thing. Zizou would be a distraction. There's no doubt about it. Would he be a good international manager? That's the question. He's a great cup manager. We've seen that with Real Madrid, of course. He's won, 11 Champions Leagues or so it feels right now. But obviously very good in that kind of tournament. I still think he's somewhat unproven, though, Zidane, as a manager. Not the greatest success in league form, in league play with Real Madrid, given what they have. I'm not saying he can't be, but, like you said, it's real ambition by the US program, who We discussed last week about where they're going to go beyond Berhalter, if they're going beyond Berhalter, because, like I said, hosting a World Cup, they want to have the big names there. And what does it mean for Canada and John Herdman and ambition, right? Right now, Herdman's still coach. He should still be coach. But this is going to be a story that will grow towards a Gold Cup, I think. So interesting. Anyway, great headlines. What a crazy couple of days it's been so far, eh? When we come back, we'll get to the whole Joao Felix situation and much, much more. Plus, we'll hear from Sarah and her little trails and travails in Chile.
After that debacle with Cristiano Ronaldo, you'd think Manchester United would think twice about welcoming back a former number 7. But if you believe the rumors, that's exactly what could be in the works as the Red Devils eye a shock January move for Barcelona's Memphis Depay. The 21-year-old Memphis arrived at Old Trafford on a 4-year deal back in 2015 as one of the most highly rated players in Europe. Having notched up 39 goals in 90 appearances for PSV, United manager Louis van Gaal paid $40 million for the Dutchman's services. And upon arrival, Memphis requested the number 7 jersey that had recently been vacated by Angel Di Maria. Like many others before him, however, Depay struggled to adjust to the Premier League, and after sliding down the pecking order, eventually only lasted 2 seasons at the club. Rather than goal galore, Memphis' time at United perhaps is best summed up by 2 shocking moments. One, a diving header back pass to David De Gea that gifted Stoke City 3 points towards the end of his first season. And the other, a choice of outfit that saw him arrive at a reserve game against Altrincham wearing a red leather jacket and a Stetson. After a 2017 move to Lyon, Memphis rediscovered his form with 63 goals and 55 assists in 4 seasons in the French top flight. And that form earned the Dutchman a 2021 move to Barcelona, where despite a respectable first season at the club, Memphis is now once again struggling for game time. So, with a bad boy image, a big ego, and a hit-and-miss track record on the pitch, is Memphis Depay really a good fit for Manchester United right now? And if he were to return, would the Dutchman take up that vacant number 7 jersey once again?
Or maybe the prodigal son returns, Mikey. How about that? Memphis Depay back to United. We don't hide the fact that you're a United fan. Are you excited by this potential move or concerned?
So I've always been a very big Memphis Depay fan. I think his whole tenure at Manchester United when he moved under Louis van Gaal he didn't live up to expectations, although we saw glimpses and flashes of his just absolute brilliance, his technique, his flair, everything that you would want in sort of a dynamic attacker. He's since showed spurts of what he can do after he left United, but still hasn't reached that caliber of player where we all thought he would be. When he was at United, there were stints where he got sent to their youth team to go play. I think he played 53 matches, had 7 goals, 6 assists. Am I excited? I'm not incredibly excited. I think that they can reach higher.
You know why he's excited, right? Or should be more excited? Because Wout Weghorst could also be on the way to United.
World Cup
That's
hero.
another big rumor. And if you watched us during the World Cup, you'd understand this. Albert actually on this very show said that Wout Weghorst was the greatest player in world football and the biggest performer at the World Cup. Didn't quite say that.
Close.
Still,
Though.
Yeah,
Close.
almost word for word.
Is it a point? I mean, listen, United. Not to ridicule Mikey here, right? But is it a bit of a statement on them that they are now targeting players like Memphis Depay and Wout Weghorst as a solution this season, as opposed to going for, the same kind of players that we see at Chelsea, we'll get to shortly.
Yeah.
City, obviously, Liverpool, Gakpo.
Yeah, I think so, because it's obviously players of a certain age, players that are a bit, I don't want to say washed, because I don't think they're washed, but, they're at a point in their career. But I think, is it just to have some more security on the bench? Maybe. I mean, we've seen Manchester United had a lot of injuries at the beginning of the season. Could it be for that? At the same time, though, even though he had a great, World Cup with the Netherlands, Memphis, he's not playing for Barcelona at all. So, what is his physicality? Is it at the level? Oh my goodness, that they want? I'm not sure. Are Barcelona just trying to make a quick buck? Probably, because I think that Barcelona could use to pay way more than United.
Well, here's what it is. It's United have come out and said that they don't want to spend big in this transfer window. So they're looking for good value purchases, and a guy like Memphis Depay, who Barcelona essentially just want off their books, could be a good value and low risk, high reward kind of move. Same with Weghorst, right?
Yeah, precisely. But Joao Felix is available on loan, apparently. He's on his way to Chelsea. They're the big reports at the time of taping here. Obviously, a wonderful talent, Atletico. Never made it, though. Never really. The big money signing came aboard. We discussed Simeone's style of football before. He never fit in there, but is Chelsea a good fit? I mean, they need something.
Yeah, they need something, but is it Joao Felix? I don't know. They're such a, like, there's so many moving parts with Chelsea, I feel, especially in this season so far with their coaches, their players. It's Joao Felix going to be now a starter? Does that mean Pulisic is going to be on the bench? Like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm happy for Joao Felix because I think he still has a lot of career where he can potentially be one of, a great player. But is it Chelsea?
Yeah, so the report that came out said that Manchester United and Arsenal also made offers towards Joao, and Joao liked the project at Chelsea. And I'm thinking, whoa, really? But Chelsea...
Winning 8 games, that project?
Yeah, finishing 10th in the league, that project? No. But the thing about Joao is that he is a fantastic number 9 in the right opportunity. With Chelsea, he'll get the right opportunity in terms of playing time. Now, in terms of players around him, I'm not too sure they're going to bring out the best of Joao. But when you look at other teams, they have essentially their number 9s secured, aside from maybe an Arsenal.
Well, United.
Anthony Martial.
He's not the starter, though,
But then you're not getting guaranteed time if you're Joao, which makes sense as to go to Chelsea. But what's also interesting, there's no buy option in this move. So this is now just a chance to showcase him.
Precisely, exactly what it is, right? For both the player and Atletico. You'll see a summer move, I would think, and hopefully he can use this as a platform for that. And maybe it's at Chelsea, but maybe it's somewhere else. Sarah, you were in Chile the last 3 weeks. You can tell by your tan, glorious tan. You were there just after, of course, Messi and Argentina won the World Cup. What has the reception been in South America and in Chile in particular to that? What seems like months ago, but it really isn't.
You know what? It was as expected. There were so many Messi jerseys everywhere I went. And the thing is, Argentina and Chile have a major rivalry. I'd say after Brazil and Argentina, it's Chile and Argentina, especially not the last Copa America, but the 2 prior. Chile beat Argentina in the final back to back. So they're very proud of that, and they don't like Argentinians. But that being said, when it comes down to a South American team versus a European team, they stick together. Like, South Americans are very much like that, and they do love Messi down there. Like, there is so much love. But I was seeing Messi jerseys everywhere, little kids running around. It was lovely.
Yep, he kind of transcends borders now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Messi's been, like I said, it seems like months and months now. He's just got back to PSG. And by the way, they could be playing against Al Nassr very soon. We'll get to that later this week. It's just absolute nonsense. Anyway, we're out of time. Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure. We're back same time, same place. Tomorrow it's room 442. Cheers for watching.